Okay, it's saying that this webinar is live streaming. So welcome everyone and thanks for joining us today at the Cosmic Intelligence Agency. Okay, hang on, better just stop that for now. I'm joined today with the agents in Europe, same group that we had for the Aries Ingress, which is cool. So we kind of can follow on. But at the top of my left is Rod Chang. Hi, Rod, you're in London.
Yes.
Good to have you here. Bottom left is Liz Hathway in Amsterdam. Welcome, Liz.
Hi.
And below me is Kenan. Hello, Kenan in Istanbul. Welcome.
Istanbul. Thank you so much, Julia, for bringing us together again. It's always a pleasure to gather with CIA and to look at the coming season together.
Yes, that's right. I mean, it's been quite a year already, and it's unbelievable that it's already the solstice,
Yeah.
the Cancer solstice, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you guys are all busy. We've got a good announcement of what you are up to later in the show, so to speak. So stick with us. Some exciting things happening. So I'm just going to start the screen share, and we'll just get right into it, I think. And talk from there. Let me hang on. No. So yes, so the four of us have gathered. Hopefully we can see you all. You can see us all. Can someone just check the YouTube? I'm looking on my phone.
Okay.
Um, Hang on, here it is.
Let me
Should
check.
be. Oh no, it's happening. It's all good. So for those of you joining us on YouTube at the moment, thanks for joining us, and I'll look into see if there's any comments or updates as we go. But yes, so look, let's kind of start. So the Cancer Ingress, of course, that is when the sun reaches its highest point in the northern hemisphere for the summer solstice. And these analemas are fantastic, kind of visuals to understand what's happening, what happens to the sun every year as it moves around, or as the Earth tilts. And now we're at the extreme, at the Cancer solstice. So the solstice points are always very significant. Um, I suppose known as turning points of the year. Would you agree, agents?
I agree.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Perhaps we should begin by explaining this to our audience because every year when the sun enters Cancer, we experience the longest day of the year and in the northern
Yes.
hemisphere, of course. In other words, the light reaches its peak. But after this peak, this light slowly begins to decrease. Sometimes people think the days are still getting longer, but actually, that has been a process leading up to this moment. From this point onward, the movement begins to change. So symbolically,
Yeah.
this is the beginning of the inward movement of light. So when we say Cancer, we often immediately think of our family or home matters, homeland. Of course, these are very important, but I think the deeper question is, until now we have grown, expanded, expressed our light, and moved all outward. And now what we are going to protect. So in Aries, we spoke about beginning section and initiation, but now with Cancer, the focus shifts toward protection, safety, right? So perhaps the season asks us to turn inward and ask, what should we care? What should we care for now? Our children, our families, our money, our homeland, our food? I don't know, but in that sense, the Cancer Ingress makes a very important seasonal turning point. Yes, I totally agree with you, Julia.
Yeah. Well, for us down here, of course, it's the sun's at the furthest away from us, and it's the winter
Yeah.
solstice. And I always kind of, it's always, I mean, as you guys would at the Capricorn solstice, it's the
Mm.
return of the light for us, even though it's
Yeah.
a long way off. We
Mm.
often say it's the return of the light, from the darkest, the shortest day. So there's kind of, this feeling of I always hate this winter time leading up to the solstice, but after the solstice, I kind of feel better. Or, like,
Yeah,
well, the light returns.
likewise.
And now you guys are sort of, sending the sun back south, right? Well, it's all about the Earth tilt, isn't it? It's the Earth tilting. And I've just added
Exactly.
this diagram because in astrology, the cardinal directions are really, really important to understand. Like, people are so used to, there's so many people learning astrology, but really at the basis of it is the cardinal directions and understanding how they live in a chart, understanding, how they turn in the seasons and what they represent on a daily basis, right? So every time that the equinox points, let's say, rise on the ascendant or 0 Aries or 0 Libra, we have an exact cardinal cross, once a day, right? And I don't think many people kind of realize that. But at the Cancer or the solstice extremes, it's the opposite, right? We don't get an exact cross and, so on, because the sun is so sort of directed to its extremes, not its equal points. But I love this diagram to understand things in astrology that we use, things like antitia or contra antitia, which are all about the cardinal points, right? Or sorry,
Yeah.
antitia, the cardinal points, which, if something's in Leo and something's in Taurus, they are sharing, a very similar, and it goes down to what we say parallel, right?
Yeah.
And if they're opposite each other from the other points, the 0 Aries or 0 Libra points, then they're contra-parallel. So this is all the basis of a lot of things that we line up in astrology. I mean, I know you guys use it, Kenan and Rod.
Absolutely. Hidden links. Yeah.
Yeah. And this diagram just, really shows that, when the sun, now this is very much just the sun, really. Planets will follow that if they're
Our
at zero
center, our
declination. Yeah, that's right.
our star.
That's
This is
right.
our
They go a
star.
bit wonky, but the sun, like we know that it's 11 degrees at northern declination if it's at zero zero Virgo, right? Which is the same as 0 Taurus. Or 0 Libra, no, not 0 Libra, it's 0 Scorpio being the same
Scorpio.
as 0 Pisces. So this is how we get those other balance points, in our charts, like the invisible aspects, you'd call them, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I
Do you-
think
Cardinal
for
points.
the
Yeah.
yeah, sorry, Liz.
No, it's fine, Rod, go.
I like this beautiful diagram. It looked like an ancient, the ancient graphic or ancient religion thing. But indeed, it does explain the Antitia so beautifully and with declination. And many of the beginner probably will get confused. But we are not just measured the sky only by zodiac degree, always so called celestial
That's right.
longitude.
That's
but
right.
the either the when we measure by declination or the celestial latitude is another way to see the things, and especially this is coordinate with like our geographic or something that, so it make more sense when we are consider different location. Like we know for many thousand years, astrology was a focus on North Hemisphere focus. It was until we go to people go to the South Hemisphere, start thinking about why it's different, so start to have this sense about what we're talking about. I really enjoy what Julia says about the North Hemisphere is the so-called summer solstice, but in the South Hemisphere it's winter, and that makes a different sense. And with this Antitia graphic is so beautifully well done to understand how it works. Yeah.
Well, I just wanted to add that to, add something to the understanding of this very special time and these cardinal points. Sorry, Liz.
Can I just make one comment the way I see it as well? I mean, these are turning points, right? And I think it says something really fundamental about the Earth's position in our system. because obviously these are turning points, and if the Earth didn't honor the pull of the sun at those points, we would just go hurtling off our orbit and into space. So it's a kind of a reminder, of our place, actually. We can find the Earth is very vulnerable, and it has to honor these points, because if we don't, as I say, it's a reminder of place.
Yeah.
As
And
are
it is
these
a huge part of the development of astrology, like pretty much aligning with the sun and the directions. It's like
Yes.
the basis
It's about
of
place,
it.
isn't it? It's about Earth's place in a larger system and honouring the sun. And that's what we do at Solstice, at Stonehenge, at all these great sites. We honour the sun there, to sort of, as if almost like our ancestors already recognised how important the sun was, actually.
Yeah, the extremes of the sun were always, like if you go to an ancient city, you will often find, well, this was the original pagan worship site, and it's usually, or where a temple or something was built because it honored the sun in the position of usually the summer solstice sunset, but that has variations. So anyway, so keeping that in mind, and then this is from the TMA astrologer graphics, so thank you, TMA. I didn't get around to doing my own. But this is just showing, the connection of signs via Antisha, right? So, again, if you've got Libra and Pisces, and there's all those things. I mean, well, Libra and Pisces with their Venus connections, there's a lot of really interesting things. So, if you've got things in Leo and Taurus, which we do have at the moment, right?
Yes.
Or just moving in, just keeping them in mind. And then the contra Antisha being from the equinox points, doing another kind of version of that, right? So just again, another hidden aspect.
Dear Robert Hand always mentioned that, Antisha seems like a seeing sign, and we can see something. But contra Antisha seems like hearing. So we
You can
cannot
see
see
him. I see.
absolutely, but
Right.
we can hear.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So it's like hidden aspects, I suppose, in a sense, aren't they? They're
Absolutely.
not aspects, but again, how many levels of astrology, there are, right?
A lot.
Keep
Yeah,
you going.
we need to consider about using other coordinate systems. Rhodes mentions that it's not just like it's not just equatorial coordinate system. We can also use right ascension and declination, especially in astrocartography. We always see.
Yes. Well, every sign has a different right ascension because it doesn't, turn like an equal wheel only at the end points, right? And as it turns, then, and these are the great things that I think anyone that's really interested in astrology should use Stellarium or a program like that to watch the ecliptic turn and be amazed at the ups and downs of it and the sideways of it. Do you know what I mean? As different signs rise and set. And that's how you learn about right ascension and all that kind of thing. It sounds difficult, but it's not, because once you see it visually.
Let me say just one thing. If you get very confused about all this Antisha, right ascension, declination, go to do stargazing. When you go to do stargazing, you will slowly learn everything. And it makes sense. When it makes sense, you increase your astrology knowledge base, and you can really just like apply them with like the deep knowledge and the ancient wisdom, and that is more fun. So go to look at the sky, like you have a trip to Mexico and go to see the Venus and this. I think that would be a fantastic way to learn all these kinds of things. So don't worry about it. If you like, what is all this? What are you talking about? I don't understand. Well, just go stand outside and look at the sky, and you will see why this planet is there, why that star is there, why you start ask questions, then you start to learn all this.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I mean, I was researching as well because I'm going to Mexico and Venus will be at her brightest in the evening sky, and there's there's an observatory that was built for Venus. It's no longer open. It's an archaeological site, but it was built for Venus watching as the evening
Wow.
planet, right? But again, of course, researching, so, Venus in the evening sky at her brightest point, over the 8-year cycle, she's in a different sign. And of course, then her placement in the sky from that observatory is in a different place, right?
Yeah.
It's not exactly in that same spot, because if it's in Gemini, it's more north. If it's
Mhm.
in
Yes.
Scorpio, it's more south. So these are the things you learn when you get to know, well, northern signs, southern signs, where they
Yes,
are
yes.
and why they're up. And this is why we do real life astrology out there under the stars.
Exactly.
Right.
Which is what we'll be doing in Turkey, I think, Rod,
Yes,
and your
yes,
guidance, right?
Well,
think-
yeah. So these three, Kenan has organized one of his conferences, the Istanbul Astrology Conferences, and we'll have the graphic for that later on. But
We will mention that.
it's a trip to Göbekli Tepe, which is the most ancient archaeological site, or I think it's been updated, but still. But you'll tell us more about that as we go, okay?
Of course.
Very exciting.
Thank you.
So let's just think about where we are. Like, we did an Aries Ingress report, so perhaps, we don't need to go back there. That's still, on the YouTube channel. Have a look at it. But as we know, the Aries Ingress is always like the overseer of the year. Like, we look at that to tell us the whole year. The solstice points and the Libra equinox tend to be more updates for the Aries Ingress, usually. But I like to do them, I like to look at them quite closely every 3 months.
Yeah.
Because they're very telling, because of what ingresses are about to come and, what else is going to happen as well, right? So if we remember, the beginning of the year had this really full on, the longest, let's say, Casimir, Venus and Mars with the sun for 32 years or something. And it, let's say it brought on this energy crisis and this big war, because it had a history, as I looked up the history of that conjunction in Capricorn. And this one was the closest one we ever get in Capricorn in this kind of era. And it did relate to kind of nuclear power and energy over the century. So I was just, when the war started and, it's all the threats that Iran has to stop their nuclear program, here we are at an energy crisis. But it's pretty telling, like a very strong conjunction of Venus, Mars, and the sun. And that's what happened, yeah? Then, of course, followed by eclipses in February and March, which were very activated over Iran and that whole area. We looked at the maps back at the Aries Ingress. The Aries Ingress, again, if we look back at that, there was a Mercury retrograde conjunct the North Node. So
It's stationing, actually.
it was stationing,
Yeah, I
right.
think
It was stationing direct, wasn't it? Yeah, it was stationing.
No, stationary retrograde, was it not? At the start of
No, it
the
was stationing direct because it was near the node.
Okay.
Is that right? No.
I'm going to check it right
Well,
now.
I've got the chart coming up, but what a time has it been? I mean, at the moment we've got Uranus squaring the nodes. People keep saying, is Mercury retrograde? I know. Say no, it's Uranus squaring the nodes.
It was stationed. Yes, it was stationed.
Yeah.
It was stationed.
But it was going direct, though, Jules. So we both
Yes.
like that.
Yes. Of course, we've had the great Saturn-Neptune conjunction at 0 Aries, which, has been talked about a lot. So, we can bring it up as we go. Uranus final move into Gemini. And we're going to talk about the rest of them. Chiron into Taurus, Jupiter in Leo coming up. Mercury retrogrades in water signs over this year. That's always very chaotic, isn't it? That sort of year of Mercury retrogrades. The next one will be in Cancer, or fully in water signs.
Yeah.
Really kind of bubble up things, don't they?
It's really interesting as well, against the backdrop of all the shift towards air and fire. which
Yeah.
actually takes you, into action and into thinking. But then the Mercury sort of thing, it makes it very personal. Water
Yeah.
signs are much more, how is that affecting me? They're more subjective. So I think it's interesting to watch actually how these Mercury retrogrades this year, when they're falling and how they are expressing, in the collective is really, really interesting, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they may be kind of even more potent in a sense because that energy, Mercury retrograde, sort of closest to Earth,
Yeah.
bringing stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and then of course we're still in the lunar standstill, which is the out of balance moon every 2 weeks. So, there's the extreme of the moon that's been happening for a few years and has still got another year or two to go, I think,
Yeah.
to be out of bounds so that's all all the stuff we've been in. It's massive. It's quite big. It's a lot. And the first thing we have now, Greenwich time on Friday, June the 19th, we're taping this 18th of June, so tomorrow, we've got the ingress of Chiron into Taurus.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's been talked about a lot, but something anyone wants to sort of say about that right now? I mean, it's Venus opposite Pluto at this time,
Mm.
in
Yeah.
conjunct with Node.
I think it's
Kind
massive,
of
Jules. I think
triggering.
I think it's tying into a lot of things, Chiron going into Taurus, because what you're starting to see, I think now, is
Absolutely.
like, for example, more concern for the environment. I was just watching something the other day about the protests in the US against these massive data sites. I mean, there's a site
Yes,
land in Idaho,
against the
which
water
is
usage.
yeah, it's twice the size of Manhattan, twice
Yeah,
the and it's what it's going to effect it will have on the nature there, exactly the water, the environment in general. And that ties in, I think, to other themes that are going on at the moment. Pluto in Aquarius in its radical form, Uranus in Gemini. There could be, or there's starting to be, a sort of kickback in a way, which seeks to also give Earth a voice and people a voice. And hey, this is all very well and good, but what will the impact be on
yeah,
Idaho? How is this going to affect us? You live next to a site like that, it's going to affect the value of your home, and all these kind of
mm,
things. So I think it's the start of some kind of, which we saw, because Chiron will have its return, because I think Chiron's in something like 3 degrees Taurus in the
yes,
discovery chart.
yeah,
And
yeah,
in that chart, the discovery chart, Chiron is the only planet in Earth in that chart, in Chiron's discovery chart. And Chiron is in the fourth house. So something that's been neglected, some facet that's been unseen, it's being brought up with the opposition, certainly to Pluto, the big tech, we've just had this last week, the first billionaire, Elon Musk, it's
trillion.
sort of kicked back, isn't it, onto that sort of mega, which is
Yeah.
taking over and taking out a lot of the joy of people's, fourth house, your basics, you know what I mean? This is where I live. Hello. So
Yeah,
I,
and they struggle, or we struggle with the basics, and the price rises keep going up. I'm not sure, probably everywhere, but in Australia, like went away to Japan for 3 weeks. I came back. I swear everything's like gone up,
yeah, yeah,
and it keeps going up. And so people are getting frustrated about the price of things, the value of things. These
yeah,
energy wars that or wars are always the excuse that things will go up.
yeah.
And we don't want the war, like.
But
Yeah,
we always see we can see in our history, because when we look at previous Chiron and Taurus periods, the symbolism becomes very striking. For example, if we look at the period between 1926 and 1933, I think we see major severe economic crisis in modern history. For example,
Uh,
Great Depression of 1929,
Nine.
and this
Yeah.
was one of the most severe economic crises in modern history. And there were there were price collapses, serious problems, and for farmers, agriculture,
Yeah.
unemployment. It's
Yeah.
really important. And then between 1976, I think, and 1984, I believe Chiron was also in Taurus. So during that period, we again see very important Taurus themes. For example, in 1979, there was the Iranian Revolution, and
Yes, of
followed by
course.
the
Yes.
oil crisis and problems
Yeah.
with energy crisis, and then we see Iran and Iraq war in the 1980s. So again, we see energy, money, debt,
Mm,
resources. So Chiron entering Taurus again may point to difficulties in money systems, financial structures, but of course, Chiron also has a healing side, right? So and we need to think about that too, because in
yeah.
mythology, according to Melanie Reinhardt, so in mythology, Chiron is connected with an exchange and a kind of sacrifice or trade. So he gives up the immortality, immortality that was given to him in order to end his own suffering. So perhaps maybe we can say both, individually and collectively. Even at the level of countries and leaders, we may need to become willing to exchange something in
Mm,
order to end our pain or to
mm,
complete a certain wound. And we may need to transfer or give up something we value. So we may try to heal ourselves by releasing, exchanging, or handing over something that we possess. So I think this is a very interesting part of the symbolism, and we will observe it together. And
mm.
and
Yeah,
also,
yeah,
I'm so
agree.
sorry about that, because Chiron is something, is also about belonging, not belonging. It's also about, it's about the wound of not being able to belong anywhere. But Taurus is about belonging, belonging to a body, a land, a place, a value, a resource. Think about Chiron's mythology again. His parents reject him, and he belongs nowhere. And even his body is divided, animal and human, half horse and half human. So
Yeah.
does he belong to the animal world or the human world? There is a deep wound of belonging there. So during this period, I think we will question where we truly belong. And I also think this may bring very important change and and innovations in the field of astrolocality cartography. So we need to talk more about this. Julia, I think you're also starting a course on geodetic astrology, and as you know, I continue teaching astromapping at Kepler as well. But because the question of belonging will become very important for people, it's not only about which country or homeland we belong to. It can also be, do I belong as a passenger on this plane? Do I belong as a student in this school? For example, do I belong to this family? So I think the Chiron and Taurus period will make us question what we have, what we possess, and where we
And
belong.
what's most valuable?
Yeah, what we
Of
value
course,
indeed,
Yeah, indeed.
what really
I feel
matters, the earth.
safe. Is my money enough? Can I access this food, or how I can protect myself? And because these questions may increase, I think astrological consultations connected with place, belonging, relocation, and finance, of course. So people may try to understand themselves, not merely psychology, or but also geographically through land, place. I don't know what you think about this, but for me, Chiron and Taurus is not just an economic transit. It's also profound wound and healing process around value,
Well,
land.
a lot of
Of course.
different wounds will rise up, right, to be
Yeah.
Yeah.
healed. world,
Yeah.
you know, to do with the Taurus kind of archetype as we
Can
go.
I just
Like an agent.
Yeah, in the 1930s, Kenan, you mentioned that, and I just thought, you know, things that came to mind with the Dust Bowl in America.
Mm,
You know,
yeah.
through over farming, you know, the soil, the soil was
Yeah,
complete, and you have
agriculture.
these incredible dust bowls. So what we might have as well is a sort of confrontation with the effects of our own behavior, which means we will have to give up things. It might not even be an element of choice, you know, maybe, you know, it will be necessary to do certain things to just maintain, you know, make sure that species survives or whatever. You know, it's a reevaluation, I think, of what we value. But
Yeah,
yeah,
very much.
yeah.
And then, I mean, with Elon Musk becoming the trillionaire just as Chiron went into well, you know, with at the end of Aries,
Yeah.
now kind of dealing with, you know, yeah, as you said earlier, you know, there's so much extremes. You know, can this be a bit of a sort of a balancing? I'm not sure, or will it be more extreme?
I agree, and I think it's very interesting to see the Chiron. As we always talk about Chiron with polarity, either wounded and heal. But how exact Chiron heal it is bring into the middle. Like Kenan mentioned, human body and human torso and
The
the animal
balance,
body.
yeah.
But was in between that hold the Chiron together. So I often notice in my practice when I discuss Chiron with clients, usually either we didn't notice it or either we overcompensate. But they either side cause the huge challenge. But if we try to, like can I say, give up something that is compromise and bring it into the middle, we can do all or nothing to bring them to the middle. For example, this Chiron in Taurus, and we look at it into the macro or economic or environmental. That is really, really important and is crucial. But what back to our personal level or maybe like a day-to-day life, something very interesting, not only the daily like inflation or something cause the problem, but with our body. And that was so interesting. I always talking about this fascinating. This is the starting point when I started Chiron, because that was so interesting when I noticed when Chiron moved into Taurus and we discovered Chiron, then large is the protest of the disability right what happened in the United States called 504 sit-in. So that was a bill that take the benefit of
Change things.
the disability people their benefit in the US in the federal right, and then they organize a huge city in every single city in the US, the largest sit-in. How Taurus sit-in can be.
I'm not
Great
moving until
point.
things change.
Exactly.
I totally agree with you, but to some extent, Rod, dear cousin, why? Because when we look at the Chiron's ingress chart, we know that the general background will not change very much because Pluto is already in Aquarius, and Venus will be in Leo. But so we have a T square. So Venus in Leo and Pluto in Aquarius form the base of the configuration, and the Chiron becomes the apex point. For me.
Yes.
This is very significant between Venus in Leo and Pluto in Aquarius. There is a tension around question such as who
Who
will
owns what? Who's got the right to own everything?
Where
will
does the
be
power
on
lie?
stage.
Where does the power lie?
Collective power win, or will individual leadership win? Yeah.
So it's a huge topic, isn't it? I mean, with Venus opposite Pluto, at this ingress there will be another one or two now, I don't know, another one. And there's a regress and an ingress, another ingress next year. But
we
we
should speak
remember.
much more about
Sorry.
it. I'm so sorry about that. We should speak much more about it. Perhaps CIA should have a webinar on this, Julia. Maybe there already is one. about
Sol did a webinar for us last weekend for the CIA. So we did.
Okay.
So if you haven't watched it, go and have a look. It was great. So
Yeah.
perhaps we will move on. But I was just going to say that, Venus there. Guess where the Venus star point is in
Ooh.
0 Scorpio. Right,
Wow.
so that Venus star point is kicking off, it's all, it's almost like may as well say it's already there, right? So again, who owns what? Who's got the right to do
Yeah.
this to us, to, our bodies, I mean, there's just so many things that are going to rise up that
The
we will
rights
have
of Indigenous.
resistance to.
Yeah.
But also, we have to know that with Chiron's wounds or what rises up, there is a medicine that comes later or comes with it somehow, right?
Mm.
So, yeah, it's a long transit as well. What, till 33, I think?
Yeah.
2033.
Yeah,
So,
33, 34.
yeah. And again, remembering when Chiron was discovered in Taurus at 3 Taurus in 77, it was the time that alternative healing really kind of took off. Transformational psychology, I mean, again, it
Yeah.
was around, but it really took off. I remember, again, like we've done, research in the past. It was a time when, Save the Whales demonstrations,
Uh-huh.
big thing,
Yeah.
it's a very, but it was also a time, oh no, I'm thinking of something else. But yeah, so again, people getting more stubborn and activated
Yeah.
about the alternative world we want to live in, right?
Yeah.
So much has changed, hasn't it, since Chiron was discovered?
Yeah.
You know,
And if we think
Yes.
about Taurus, it's what we're being fed,
Yeah.
in very many different ways, and so the alternatives of better food, protecting water,
much more.
banking
we can
systems,
think
again,
about
everything Taurus. Yeah.
pregnancy. Maybe we can think about pregnancy, in vitro fertilization or in vivo
Oh, yes,
fertilization.
true. Yeah. Breakthroughs in all those kind of areas, like the feminine, organs. Yeah, for sure. Wow.
The rights of Indigenous people. I find Chiron very shamanic. So
Sure.
Yeah.
people that have no rights or whose voice hasn't been heard, like
Yeah.
tribes in Brazil or, these sort of remote places where, people, Indigenous people are being trampled on by big tech or big, do you know what I mean? Bigger concerns.
Still.
Exposure. I think Pluto opposite Venus can be really good in exposing things, bringing things to light, what's going on in the underground here. Let's have a look at it. Let's dig up the dirt. Let's have a look.
Or what's going on in the accounting system. So you can imagine
Exactly.
accounting, exposure and scandals like, oh, this person has been taken
You just
the money.
remind me. You just remind me how often Christine Skinner talking about Chiron as an audit. As an audit. Yeah. I like that. And look at this Venus opposite Pluto and with T square with Chiron. That audition definitely going through like for example,
that is great.
space.
Audit.
Yeah, that would be interesting. And I agree with Liz that talking about the indigenous, and I think Chiron in the social, in the political, social political level, could you usually see how the vulnerable people, how these so-called minority are suffering, but also how people hit back, how we exercise the social justice, use the sit-in way in Taurus, use a very progressive, aggressive way in Aries, and that would be very verbal way when they move into Gemini.
Yeah.
What did I read the other day? Although it happened back in April, but it was Mexico is now going to have free healthcare.
Wow, lovely.
Yeah. So I mean, things like that, fixing the health system in so many places, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Oh, and again, the moon in Virgo, South Node, things that should have been done. Now may move through. So anyway, let's move on.
Yeah.
Sure.
We're terrible.
So just quickly, the Aries ingress, again, look at that chart, you know, so much Aries and Pisces. And again, we talked about that a lot. So let's just kind of move through that. And yeah,
I don't want to see that.
Sorry?
I don't want to see that chart again.
So this is the Cancer Solstice set for Greenwich and zero Aries. So we're not at a particular place at the moment, but we have got some charts for specific places coming up. But what really, of course, stands out is Uranus squaring the nodes, and all the sextiles and trines that we know are, you know, Pluto, Neptune, Uranus, and Jupiter coming up to its placement in Leo to kind of kick off that great sextile, let's say. And
I think
Mars. We'll talk about
Neptune. Sun square Neptune. Don't forget that.
Oh yes, the Sun square Neptune. Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Which is what was happening, by the way, last summer. We also had this square, and around that time there was also a peace deal with Iran. Because remember, they had a little skirmish last year, and then around the time of the solstice, the Sun Neptune square, Trump announced, as he often does, you know, this great
49 times I think he's announced peace.
He loves it, you know. But
this is very interesting. Yeah, this is very interesting as we have the Neptune around the, you know, Aries point, around the cardinal 0-degree point. So for this year and last year and the next year, we always during the eclipse, solstice and equinox time, we will have Sun either conjunct or opposite or square the Neptune. So that means like for this period of time, these 3 to 5 years, Neptune play an important role. Neptune play important role either with ocean, either with the spirituality, either with cultural image cinema, or with hallucination, or either we worship our leader as a cult.
But it's interesting as well, Uranus square the nodes. It's really interesting because we've had such shocking things the last week. Like, for example, who can imagine a cage fight on the lawn of the White House? You know what I mean? It's kind of shocking, really. Or what else we had? Like, you know, the SpaceX going on, the shares going on, and there's the world's first trillionaire. You know, I mean, what on earth are you going to do with all that money? You know what I mean? It's a big pot of money in it. But there's these kind of things that are, in a way, like just beyond the pale. What the heck? You know? In the White House, a cage fight, you know. It's a very strange time. Or at the same time, we're also seeing like a big protests against tech, or in the UK, you know, the law now that's going to be passed to protect children from big tech, you know. So there's an Uranus thing going on. Gemini is children as well, specifically. So we can see all those themes of the nodes square Uranus in the kind of direction of things, and almost trying to realign things in a sense, because it's Uranus square both ends of that axis. So but it's definitely manifested in very sort of like almost sort of shocking or extreme ways, I find. And that ramping up of AI, you know, the first you know, Pluto Uranus trine that has happened, you know, since 1960s, mid 60s, you know, really ramping up this whole, you know, kind of other thing that's there now. You know, it's very Gemini. It's this AI thing. Like, you know, I've been sort of, you know, posting about how the astronomy AI is just making up stuff. You know, we know that it's making up astrology stuff, but now it's making up astronomy stuff, and people are so believing it. It's just this is the crisis of the nodes. You know, like with the squaring the nodes, we have to be really sort of attentive to what's going on. And then Meta, you know, AI taking over, Google AI taking over our street. You know, like our search results and things.
Don't want you. Searches and stuff. I mean, it can be really helpful, but you still got to kind of double check. You know
Yes,
what I
indeed.
mean?
Well, we know the way the the algorithm works, for example. So we really are in this sort of idea of the age of post-truth. So
Yeah.
if you post misinformation, if misinformation is shared, and it becomes an alternative reality, because when you go and search for that particular thing,
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
there's a bulk of information on the web that is untrue, that will still come up as, do you know
Yes.
what I mean? As
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
truth. So it's really kind of, yeah, it's Orwell's 1984, the
Yeah. Yeah.
Ministry of Truth.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
it's
talking
kind of,
about Uranus, Kenan's just gone off because he's having power failures
Okay.
at home. But
he'll be back.
he'll be
Yeah,
back.
yeah.
He'll
So
back
what
up.
I want
Yeah.
to resonate what Liz just say, but with all these AI things, yes, what we say is like, for example, if you use AI to do your study or something, verify your resource first
Yeah.
and double check. That's most important. But what is beautiful, sorry, to go back to a little bit old school, is all these AI things, just like showing the Pluto in Aquarius, how important that human being have to be, because
Yeah.
because it's not just about what AI told you and what it is.
Yeah.
Because, for example, we know that recently Google just released the translation for 75 language. So all the interpreter will lose their job.
Yeah.
What do you think? Maybe next time, if I go to Japan, I say I want ice cream, but they translate to something else. Maybe I will get a sausage or something else. Then they can really manipulate your life, because never forget, all these AI were controlled by the big tech, and
Yeah.
they can manipulate. For example, X, Twitter, they can manipulate what Grok tell you.
Yes. Yes.
So be careful, and we can find the real value of a human being,
Yeah. Yeah.
that you
So
can do your own research and your own work.
yeah, and this is what Gemini exactly tells us. We have to know. We have to know what we're doing. Like we can't just believe the
Yeah.
stuff. We have to find out.
Yes.
This is
You know,
classic doublethink, isn't it, as
yeah.
well?
Yes,
We're seeing
indeed.
with Gemini at the moment, because
Yeah.
you've
Yeah.
got
Yeah.
Iran coming out and claiming this is brilliant for us, America so you can have like these two truths now, and that is also, I find, really Uranus and Gemini,
Yes.
right? So
Yes.
what is the truth, right? Everything is fluid. Nothing is sort of set in stone anymore.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
Indeed.
yeah, yeah. And again, infiltrating, our lives and stuff. So it does, I mean, it's making me sort of very more aware and being very annoyed with it too, though. Like it's
Mm.
annoying.
yeah, me
It
too.
is squaring my moon too, so
Yeah, it's kind of like invasive. So, it's sort of
yeah,
suddenly on in your PowerPoint, the AI assistant. It's
yeah,
in your email, the AI
yeah,
assistant.
yeah.
It's on your
Everything, they are
phone.
everywhere now.
And it's like, hey, did I ask for an AI assistant? Do I
Yeah.
want your assistance? No.
Yeah, so everywhere you go, you get the chatbot, AI assistant. It's like, yeah. Oh,
But it's
anyway.
interesting, just a few points on this solstice, though, because what we have here as well, like, is we're coming into the Mercury retrograde as well.
Mm,
So Mercury, is going to be returning to this spot
mhm,
on the 8th of July and on the 5th of August. So it's again, things are happening around this solstice. For example, this deal now that's, just been entered into, which again are going to be subject to review. Nothing, it's not a done deal yet. So that Mercury retrograde, which was stationary in the Aries ingress, is coming back into play. And here as well, there's a mutual reception between the moon and Mercury. So this chart ties in, I think, like, for example, I've started to notice the way the Cancer Ingress, particularly, we can see it play out a lot in the horoscope of the US,
mm,
because the sun is always conjunct with Venus in the US chart around the time, well, at the solstice, the summer solstice. And so that means it's kind of playing out, midheaven is in Libra in the US chart. So it kind of really pulls in the US chart. And this particular ingress really picks up on the US chart. Mars, for example, I think it's on
I've
Trump's.
got the US chart, coming up.
Yeah.
So maybe
Yeah,
wait
the
for that.
moon.
But what do you
Yeah.
think about the moon in Virgo?
Yeah, I
Fly.
That
think the mutual reception there with Mercury and
mm,
the aspect between them as well. So that
Absolutely.
really makes it a very effective aspect. And then
Yeah.
I think the art is to look at where that is falling. So where will that be active? Because sextiles kind of are active, you know, but you have to make things happen. And if you look at, for example, at Israel, then, you know, Israel for the Ingress chart has Virgo rising, that moon in the first house, you know, so you can see where it'll be playing out. And
yeah.
so I think it's quite interesting although you can look at it as a standalone, I think it really starts to be very animated when you put it into, you know, charts of countries and charts of leaders and stuff. But I think
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mercury, that moon Mercury is very, very active, very, very prominent, and the Mercury retrograde.
Absolutely.
And then, of
I
course,
totally agree.
it's the
I totally
midpoint of Mars. Sorry,
Mars,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And Mars is
Mars is
on
also
Trump's.
striking, but I don't want to interrupt you. But
No,
you know,
I'm
I think it is as if the people are saying, you know, Moon in Virgo, okay, you're speaking beautifully. You may maybe you are making big promises, but what about my food? What about my health system?
it's
Or how will
necessities, isn't it?
my
Virgo.
daily life continue? Because but I feel leaders may not take that seriously enough, because when we look at the governing side of the charts, I think there's still a kind of pressure or blockage. But of course, Mercury also represents the media, news, public statements, commentary, and even popular narratives. But there is also an Anticia connection between the Moon and Neptune, maybe if we consider the degrees. So the moon is around 23 degrees Virgo, and the Neptune is around 4 degrees
Yeah,
Aries.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it's Virgo. So there may also be confusion, misleading, right? So popular narratives or stories reflected through the media, but we are already observing this. So news in the media can increase public anxiety, and because Neptune is a generational planet, I think we need to say something very important here, because we are living in a very strange age, right? So in the past, people mostly, followed local news. So they worried about what was happening around them. But now we receive news from the whole world at the same time. And if there is a crisis somewhere in the world, so we hear about it immediately. But the human psyche, so and even the human body are not really designed to carry this much
So
news.
much
It's a former
information.
genesis.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're overwhelmed with news for
short
sure.
circuit. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
Moon I'm so sorry, wants
Sorry,
to
sorry.
read to the own system. So it wants to organize, simplify, and repair. As you know, my son is in Virgo, and as a former geneticist, so perhaps I understand this Virgo feeling quite personally. So I'm responsible for myself. I need to
Mhm.
heal myself. I need to organize my own life.
Do what's
Why?
necessary.
But
Why?
it's
Because
also maybe
while
even people
yeah,
acting out. Sorry to keep.
absolutely, absolutely. Because while many global events are unfolding, the public may be reflected by all of them, but through this hidden connection, Anticia, Neptune, and collective atmosphere can become overwhelming. At the same time, the Moon in Virgo, so no change, may push people to turn inward and ask, how
Mm.
can I manage my practical anxiety, right?
In
So,
the mountain
I
astrology, sorry.
No, just a one
Yeah.
comment. I think the moon, the reception between on the sextile between Mercury and the moon could actually be though people acting out,
Yeah.
not
uh,
just sort of inward, but actually actively showing their feelings, actually expressing their unhappiness with the situations or certain situations.
Virgo
Um,
statements,
always
Yeah.
complains. So yeah, more complaining.
thank you, Julia. Thank you.
yeah,
As
No,
you
no,
price it.
no,
yeah,
No, no, no.
but
Just something that came up the other day was what drives me crazy is I keep getting all this Pisces stuff sent to me, like, the things on Instagram that are about Pisces, and, some of them are funny and whatever. But, I wish people didn't talk about Pisces or any of the signs as a person, right? It is an archetype. It is not a person.
Yeah.
But that's all you
Interestingly,
hear with sun sign astrology, right? So when I say
Yeah.
Virgo is this, it's not you, all right?
Indeed.
It's not you.
Okay, I want to echo what Liz just says, because I share similar point of view with not only with this mutual reception between moon and the Mercury, but if you compare, because moon is people in the mundane astrology chart, how people feeling on globally, not it's just in particular country, but when this mentioned about in a different position in a different country, and that would be like emphasized or something. But however, the moon is like a general feeling of the people and how we feel. With this mutual reception with the moon trine the Mars, people are easily to acting out, and this is very different from the Aries English chart, because in the Aries English chart, moon only have square and the conjunct Chiron and Venus. So that was like you stay there, but this one is like I don't hold it back anymore. I don't want to say something rude. I don't hold it anymore. I just lash out. I'm going to do something with consideration, because with a humble Virgo like Kenan, sorry, generalize the sun sign astrology again, but this a Virgo kind of with a realistic consideration about how far I should act, how much money I have, and how much power I have, and it's all calculation. It's very cute, but they still going to do something. I think people going to say something, but do it in a very practical way.
Yeah.
But would you like to say? I'm so sorry about it, but would you like to say about something regarding Mars? Because Mars is also aligned with this fixed star Capulus around
Yes.
24 degrees of Taurus. So I
Yeah,
think we need
some
to
astrologer was thinking about some astrologer were talking about the algo, but I would say, well, if you want to use a 5-degree orb, algo will be everywhere. But yes, why not? But there is a fixed star, a Capulus. Is very interesting, because Capulus is indeed not just one star. Capulus is we call in astronomy double cluster. Double cluster.
Yeah.
It's a vision. You can see it in the night sky, and very beautiful. And the double cluster, well, in the image of the constellation, it signifies the Perseus sword hand. So Capulus was the meaning of a sword hand. So that is a little bit more aggressive penetration, attacking energy with this Mars. So Kenan, thank you for mentioning this, because that means if anything related to Mars during this summer, remember that sword hand. Remember that sword hand may not going to dealing with easily. But however, we never forget this sextile between Mars, Jupiter, and the Mercury. I think is like what do we call it? Wheat and carrot, right? So in kind of a negotiation in between,
Yeah.
Well, look at this. Pluto is contra Antisha Mars, right?
Yeah.
So we've got that hidden aspect there. So what is that saying? Listen more. Like what we say, like we gotta. It's not everything we see. It's kind of, I don't know, more perceptive.
Another point.
The sun is also on the Mars-Pluto midpointer, which also brings out that idea of force and anger and aggression. So it's almost like that's in the background. There's like things are sort of almost on the back burner. Things are, because the sun is square Neptune. So, but then you've got that completely different energy there with Moon, Mars, and Mercury, Jupiter. It's kind of a completely different picture almost than the hunters are doing, isn't it? They're all
it's a bit of revival, I think, with everything going on. Okay, I'll just go to the next slide.
But another point,
you can keep talking. This is just a declination graph, but just to see how many planets are actually in the north, in the first signs, right? In the first signs. and only Pluto and the node, which is not a planet, in the north. Like, that's quite astounding, I think, as well.
Yeah, Pluto will go out of bounds soon as well, won't it? Around the
Yeah,
time
in
of that,
August.
in August, yeah.
In
And
August.
and so here's the sun right at its southern, declination point, of course, at the solstice. So we've talked about these things, haven't we? Yes.
Yeah.
Or we will talk as we go. So I okay, so we're ready for the map. So the map, this is the geodetic map, and the maps, the ACG or the geodetic maps, kind of, again, focus the chart that we've been looking at on the world map, right? So if we look at the geodetic map, it is a fixed map starting at, I'm using the 0 Greenwich point, and I mean, we remember from last time, Uranus was over the Strait of Hormuz, and has been moving across, and I'll zoom up on that in a bit, and the node is right through there as well. So, the node wasn't there before. Uranus has been moving through there. So now the node squaring Uranus, in the chart is actually right over this area, which is super interesting. And then Saturn at 14 Aries in the Cancer Ingress chart. If we remember, the geodetic coordinates of Washington, D.C. is 13 Cancer MC. So that's Saturn, although it's like this is the ascending Saturn on the geodetic map, but it is squaring Washington, D.C. So I just wanted to point that out. So there feels as though there is certainly movement at the station, that some not comeuppance, what's the word I'm looking for? Repercussions are on their way. Right.
Certainly going for a cage fight there.
And then this is more of a zoom up, of course, of the Europe area. And again, if we're looking at the node and Uranus, now what's really interesting about Uranus, it's now moving right to the edge of Iran. Like, okay, it will go retrograde. So it's almost like hovering at the edge of Iran now. So does that mean that, yes, we're getting closer to, this thing being over? But look where Mars is.
Yes.
So it's going to be moving towards, of course, Uranus there, and right at the beginning of the strait there. So there's more action to come. So as we talk about, the peace deals, yet another one, I think the highlight will be.
We never forget about. I'm so sorry to interrupt you, Julia, but we never forget to Mars is in Taurus, so it's also meaningful, because when we look at the geodetic map, we also use the ecliptic based system. So this brings to the Mars in Taurus image. Mars in Taurus does not necessarily mean that the weapon is immediately used. So it's more like saying the weapon is on the table. So I have not picked it up yet. But if the things I want are not discussed at this table, you can see that the weapon is still here and I may use it, right? So this is quite frightening, but astrologically we observe it very clearly.
Yeah.
But I think for Tehran, if you look at that Mars line there, actually, I mean, Tehran is having its Jupiter return right now, isn't it? Iran.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
actually, it's got, I think it's got Mars, Uranus in the 8th house. I think maybe you've got the chart, but
It's coming up. Yeah.
they've actually sort of discovered their weapons in a way, what they've got. I mean, because by, kind of putting the sort of squeeze on that little waterway there, I mean, they've dealt pretty effectively in one way with, both Israel and the US. And they've, put the whole world economy into a sort of state of panic. So they've discovered something of their strength. And I think they've got transit in Saturn now around the sun in the 9th house. So for Iran,
I think they know their strength.
yeah, they've actually really discovered it now, though, Jules. Through this, at least that's what commentators are saying, that actually Iran is the winner. And if you look at Jupiter in the chart of Iran, you think, yeah, they've not done bad here. They've lost a lot, of course, and a lot of
Aren't they
people
getting a
die.
whole lot of billions of dollars from the US? Is
Yeah,
that
but
true? I don't know.
yeah, they said they've got, I think it was 30 billion. But on the other hand, right, these funds that, Donald Trump talks about, I mean, there was supposed to be this massive fund for the rebuilding of Gaza, but actually that fund is still completely empty. There's not a penny in there or a dollar in there. And instead of any kind of, rebuilding of Gaza, what we're seeing now is actually Israel continuing to trash Gaza and make it,
Yeah,
flatten
yeah.
it. And it doesn't look like the US, it feels like with Donald Trump, it's a lot of hot air in a way. You
Mm.
just don't know, is this money ever
Yeah, is
going to
this truth or
materialize?
is this blurting out something again? Because he
Exactly.
feels
It
like,
sounds
yeah,
good, doesn't it?
yeah,
But I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
there was
yeah.
this huge, fund coming for Gaza, and I just posted something on my Facebook about it today because I thought, well, yeah, what happened to that one? And nothing, basically. There's no money in it at all. So yeah,
Yeah,
we'll
right.
see. We'll see.
And
But at least they can carry on. I mean, Mercury should be over there somewhere as well, but because they are going to be allowed to carry on or reopen for business, they can start selling oil. They can, re-enter the marketplace in a way, So it's a good,
well, the Mercury
yeah,
retrograde will be over all this area. It doesn't quite reach here on
yeah,
this map for a while. But
yeah,
what's interesting is, so when you have missing sort of points on a geodetic map, they've still
Mm.
got kind of aspects, let's say. So 5 degrees of Taurus is over Israel, right?
mm,
Of course,
mm,
what do we know about 5 degrees of Taurus? It is completely in the whole story of, squaring Pluto and all that big sextile going
yeah,
on. So there it
yeah,
is there. It's interesting now to watch Venus move over this area, right, in coming weeks. So Venus will
yeah,
be ascending through all of this. Will that bring the peace? Now, Venus doesn't always bring the peace. She actually starts the wars as well. So,
yeah,
you know, again, depending on situations, we've got Pluto going through Albania, which is just, sort of exploding
Yeah.
in huge eruption there. And really interestingly, where the peace talks will be happening is exactly where Jupiter is. It's
yeah,
exactly over Evian-les-Bains in France. That is incredible as Jupiter now also moves towards, opposing Pluto and getting into this whole thing. So really
yeah,
interesting to watch these maps. But I better move on. Oh, actually, another thing I was going to say, and then Chiron starts moving into, well, it's already in the Ukraine, but closer to the capital of the Ukraine. And I
Yeah.
was thinking about it when we were talking about Chiron, like when did Brexit start? Like Chiron's been moving through here in Aries all this time through Europe, right?
Yeah.
Now
about
it's
10 years, I
For
think,
me,
Jules, now.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
about 10 years since we've
it's
been out.
just interesting to watch that as well. And, Saturn's through there now as well. But anyway, we haven't got time for
Yeah.
oh,
everything. You'll have to do my course next week, but I'll tell you more.
you're an expert of this file. Yeah.
This is the ACG map. So again, real-time map for the actual solstice. Look where it is. Look where the sun is. Right
Yeah.
over
Mm.
focal point in a sense.
Yeah.
Uranus rising near the USA, and we'll see that in the charts coming up more closely. But yeah, there's the sun right here through the Middle East there. Albania has the nodes crossing it
Again, yeah.
there, and Israel has Ceres going, well, close to it. I mean, on these maps, because it's blown up, it's only, 100 kilometers away, which is like 1 degree. So
Yeah.
very sort of in the vicinity in that sense. So this is now the UK chart, Liz, that you wanted to look at, Aries Ingress, because there's a lot of things happening there.
Yeah, no, it's just interesting because just to see how things pan out, because we've got we had a fixed Leo ascendant at the Aries Ingress, and of
Yes.
course Sun is all about leadership, right? And the Sun here is in the eighth house, and I mean, and it's with Neptune, and this has been an absolutely disastrous year for Keir Starmer on every conceivable level, actually. He what was it with Mandelson, who he kind of, yeah, covered for him in a way. And then it turns out he had real big links to Jeffrey Epstein. And, yeah, it's just been one thing after another, and he is so unpopular that there's a real kind of, well, today, as you know, Ron, you posted on it this morning. We've got the
Yeah,
by-election today in
by-election. Yes.
Huddersfield to try and get Andy Burnham, who's a kind of populist. No, he's not a populist, but he is a very popular Labour.
Very popular, yes.
Yeah, more left wing actually, isn't he? He's a bit more of a socialist, you could say, than Starmer. But it's just interesting to see how that, now it's moving. We've got the 11th house sun in the Cancer Ingress. So who are the leader's friends? Who will stick with him? Who will sort of, help him out of office, you could say. Who's going to stab him in the back, Rod?
Right.
Yeah, so many people can't wait. And
Uh-huh.
this is very interesting when as we mentioned about the relationship between Sun and the Neptune, and either how we see the leader in either in a fanatic, crazy worship way, or in another, the Neptune weak them, make them feel like vulnerable
Scandals.
and scandals. So I think this couple of years we can see only leaders played by this Neptune image, either is a Messiah like Jesus, as Trump is, or like people worship them, or
Full
like
of
Keir
promises.
Starmer. It's like
Yeah.
I'm a victim. I'm a victim. The people just stop me and stop me on my back. That's very interesting
Backstabbing,
to see the archetype. Yeah,
There's a
Because
kind
the
of
nation
culture of
state,
mistrust, isn't it?
yeah,
indeed,
because the
true.
nation state model is beginning to change, right? And it seems as if a new model is emerging because people no longer feel fully
We
protected by
need
the
new
state.
models, don't we? We
Yeah.
need new models and new,
Absolutely.
definitely. The system.
rethink, reset,
Yeah.
Yeah,
with
system
the, with the
changing.
people very central with Pluto
Yeah.
in Aquarius, because it's really gathering momentum now. It's been a few years in the sign, but
Yeah.
what history has taught us about Pluto in Aquarius, it really is, for the people, by the people, and we're
Yeah.
Yeah, we can even hear this in conversations coming from Silicon Valley. Of course, there are people saying maybe we don't need to the state anymore. Maybe company CEOs or
Yeah.
corporate leaders can manage many things because they hold so much economic power. So the
Yeah.
idea that the
Yeah.
state
Yeah.
is no
Yeah.
longer
If
necessary
you
is
think of somebody, worth $1 trillion, I mean, that is more than the income of a lot of countries, well, it's certainly more than the income of a lot of countries in the world. I mean, it's power, massive power, but it pulls a lot of strings and it makes things move, but it's
Yeah.
not accountable to any kind of watchful eye, it's
Yeah.
free in its expression. And I mean, there's a lot happening in the UK, a lot of eighth house stuff with,
Indeed.
for example, we've had people like Elon Musk interfering in the British politics, Twitter, it's all Russia. We've just had this case with Russia Russian spies setting fire to Keir Starmer's house. Did you see that?
Oh, right. Oh, wow.
Yeah, he wasn't living in it. His sister was in the house. The guy just got sentenced just this week, which is why I hadn't heard of it either, but it's just in the news. But actually, the guy, I think, was actually Ukrainian, and he was broke and living in London, and he'd replied to an advert in a sort of one of these fake sites, for work. And what the job he got was to fly poster, right wing, rallies against immigrants. But then he got a bigger job, which was to set fire to Keir Starmer's house, which is actually he did set fire to his house, and the house burned to the ground. The family escaped, but he's just been sentenced this week. But it's all this kind of eighth house spycraft, and it's like
We've
there's
got
a
Mars
definite
squaring the ascendant, and
Yes.
the degree is 20 degrees. The next solar eclipse is 20 degrees of Leo. So
Yes.
yeah. And UK has Mars in Taurus as well, by the way.
right.
I'm not sure exactly what degree, but it's kind of a very, very dynamic
More scandals for sure. Eris squares, well, Mercury squares Eris, and then
yeah, a
retrograding
lot,
from
a
that
lot
point.
happening. Yeah,
Wow. Okay, watch this space. We better
yeah,
move on. So this
Yep.
is now the USA chart with the Cancer
Yeah.
Ingress on the outside. So as we saw in the map, the ACG map, Ceres and Uranus very close to rising in Washington. The moon
Yeah.
down here, all the things that we've talked about, now we just kind of place them in the different houses, really. But
Yeah.
look at this, we know Pluto's on the nodes, and
Nodes,
Venus
yes.
sort of tracking. So the nodes of the great sextile coming up are very much, or the USA nodes very much in that lineup, let's say. The Mercury retrograde, look at this return of the Mercury, which will retrograde over.
Yeah. It'll be there 3 times, and it rules the 7th house, right? Which is
Yeah.
going to be about deals and agreements and contracts and, what you agree with others. But on the other hand, it's also, what we project on our enemies and what we fail to see in ourselves, right? So it also has that link as well with warfare, the 7th house, and the 6th house is pretty full here. But just one comment on the Pluto position on the nodal axis here. It was something I did for our chat last time, Rod, or the time before.
Yeah.
There's been some interesting research done on the node of the US and how particularly it comes into play. It's to do with the midpoint, I think, of Neptune Mars. But it seems to be in play always when there's big naval battles or like Pearl Harbor. There's always planets around that nodal axis. The sinking of the Lusitania, which brought America into the First World War. So as long as Pluto is around that nodal axis in the US chart, there is a serious risk of involvement in certainly naval water battles. So, and again, Mercury in Cancer, Mercury in Pisces, this as well has sort of watery connotations as ruler of the 7th house of the US. But it's some really interesting. I can't remember who did it now, but I think I mentioned it in the thing I did with Rod. I think it was in May this year. I did a whole little presentation on it, but it's really interesting research into the node and the US involvement in wars.
Right. Well, is there somewhere they can catch that, or
Yeah,
is
it's
it
on YouTube. It's
okay. It is
Rod's site there.
Look at the moon on the Neptune here.
Yeah.
That's kind of interesting, isn't it? Given like, fixing something. Come on, it's a lot to be fixed.
Think of that mutual reception there with Mercury as well. So how things are being, like Kenan said about news announcements and things, how this is being portrayed to the US public, you could say, is in a very deceptive Neptunian sort of way, the way it's been framed.
Well, hopefully there's a bit more awakening with the Virgo moon to how they're being deceived.
Doubt it.
Let's pray.
No, it always amazes me with the US. I mean, because they're so far away. I mean, they can comfortably kick a hornet's nest anywhere, like in the Middle East, for example. And the fallout of it then, fleeing people and come to the shores of Europe, we have a big problem. And then you have politicians in the US hammering us about immigration. I'm thinking, well, why are people fleeing all these areas? Most of the people coming into the UK are
everywhere's got its problems, hasn't it? Everywhere's got
But the US, it's remote and it doesn't often really understand Europe or the politics. It does. People are busy with their own lives, as are we all.
Yeah.
It's
just be busy with your own life. Switch off the news. That's what
well, there's an argument to be made for that because it's very disempowering when there are terrible things going on in the world, and you can go on demos, you can post things and be angry, but fundamentally, we are unable to enact a change to a lot of things, and that's very disempowering, and I think it has a knock-on effect into your own life as well. That's my thought anyway.
I think it's interesting that Chiron has, well, this is Placidus houses for you, this chart has just moved into the fifth. Now, in mundane astrology, the fifth house is the president, isn't it?
The fifth house
Is the president.
no, that's going to be
Of
10th.
what?
Yeah.
Sorry?
Fifth house is, I
President.
think,
it's part of the, like the person that is, the represent. I know it's the 10th house that is the part,
Yeah.
and what's
Yeah.
represented, but the fifth house is the actual individual president.
I've never heard that. I have heard,
Really? Yeah.
no,
No, me neither.
no.
A bit.
It's often,
Never heard
there is
that.
an argument out there that the fifth house, for example, is the House of Lords. So it will
Lord.
be the
Yeah,
elite,
ambassador.
the
Yeah,
people that
yeah.
are kind of
Well,
elite.
And
again,
relative.
the main
Yeah.
guy. I'm just saying. Anyway, gosh, I don't even know why I know that, but I know that, and I've known that
That would
for a
be
while.
It's
interesting
like
to do
maybe
a
an
research.
organization, yeah, maybe, or an organization, maybe we can say a police or,
But that's the
some
sixth
kind of
house,
Six,
I
yeah.
believe.
yeah,
Yeah, 6.
6 and 5.
No, I
Yeah.
think that's a
Yeah,
modern
5.
twist, Jules, on, I think
Well,
that's a
it's
modern,
think about the fifth
it's
house.
not
It's the
traditional.
one out there. It's in this case, the clown. Whatever,
Yeah.
the prominent individual.
Oh,
Uh,
maybe for them, yes.
I
well,
certainly think
again, it
it's kind
is.
of elite, I mean, so if you're an elite person, then you've got, you can have these
Famous
massive
people.
lawn parties and,
Yeah, well,
bring
yeah,
all these people
exactly.
in
Yeah.
and, have,
Yeah.
do business, and stuff. But
I
I think it's that kind of soft power, I think is fifth house, but open ability to portray power and enforce power and be the person who's pulling on the strings. I think that's 10th.
Yeah.
Anyway, I couldn't tell you why I know that or what, but
An
I've
interesting
always
thought,
we've
yeah, it is.
it's another representation of
yeah.
the shining one, the one out there.
Okay.
There's
Okay.
an argument to be made in this chart, I suppose, because Saturn is in Libra in the 10th. So there is a sort of a Venus fifth sort of, kind
And
of,
and
yeah.
fifth house is a 10th house's eighth house. You know what I mean? The drive
Mm-hmm.
house system.
Oh, it is the
Uh-huh.
10th house's eighth house. Yeah,
Eighth
okay.
house. Yeah, yeah, maybe we can talk. Yeah.
Anyway.
We're getting jiggly.
Now, what's
Yeah.
this? Oh, this is the Iran chart. So what we can see
Fantastic.
there is the Mars right at the top that we saw in the ACG chart.
Yes.
But look at that grand trine, Jules, that they've got there.
Yes,
They
right.
have got a Mars Mercury conjunction, but they've got a grand trine now, a loose grand trine with Uranus.
Right. In the
So,
eighth. Yeah.
all this difficult time that they've had, because Jupiter in the 12th.
Nodes on Venus.
It's quite
Yeah.
often difficult, isn't it? Quite often a difficult time when Jupiter's in the 12th. But they've done well out of it. They've really they've discovered, and it's in Pisces, which is water. You know what I mean? Battles by water, you
This is
could
a little
say.
bit off, sorry, the sun and the moon. So anyway, but it's
But
very
it's interesting, isn't it?
close.
That they
Yeah.
come into this kind of like recognition of the
Yeah.
power of
Absolutely.
water in their chart and what they can do with it, that grand trine there.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Cut it
Definitely.
off, cut it off.
Yeah, exactly. And
How
it's,
interesting. And so the
yeah,
eclipse is close to that ascendant too,
yeah.
coming up in August. We probably won't get to the eclipses. We'll have to do another thing for the eclipses.
Yeah, it will be too long, yes.
Yeah, because Rod, I know you have to go soon, but let's just go through this. So the next big thing again after that is the Jupiter ingress into Leo. Of course, the Mars conjunction is next. So,
Yeah,
again,
just think about,
Jupiter, sorry.
Julia, that at that moment when we look at things at the image of countries in the world right now, it seems to be dominated by weapons, money, power, and economic wars. But many countries appear to be governed through these themes, right? But a country's image is not defined only by weapons, raw materials, money, or military power. So it's culture, you know, when we speak about Jupiter. So it's culture, sports, competitions,
Yeah,
maybe
yeah, yeah.
educational
Yeah.
concerts. So young people, artists. So when Jupiter enters Leo, I think we will begin
The
to observe
uniqueness of every
things.
country, the uniqueness, which is Leo, right? What
And,
makes,
Yeah.
and
you know,
yeah, for example, in Turkey, which is my home country, you know, something very interesting is happening at that moment. Not the Jupiter, enters, in Leo, but now there are, how can I say, drug related operations, and celebrities are being brought into the headlines. We hear statements, such as this actor or actress or this singer was detained because of drug use. So actors,
oh, okay.
artists, and public figures who are loved by the public are facing, detention or public, security or something like that. For me,
Scrutiny.
yeah, scrutiny. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Scrutiny.
that's the
Yeah.
key word. So for me, this is very important symbolically, because it may show an attempt by those in power to change the public's perception of people whom society loves, follows, or sees as role models, right? So at the same time, many people are now making money through social media, teenagers, or influencing entertainment, or even more productive, or provocative content. So young people are becoming hopeless. Why? Because they may think, I studied, I got a diploma, but I still cannot find a proper job, or so, but someone on social media, okay, can do something completely different, and suddenly earn a lot of money. So maybe I do not need education at all, right? So since the state cannot always intervene directly in the situation, so we may begin to see the Pluto and Aquarius side more strongly, and the Jupiter in Leo. So I think the Jupiter in Leo period is not only about leaders, pride, or national visibility. It's also about who become visible, who becomes a role model, who controls the public image, and how culture, entertainment, or social media become part of the political battlefield, right? So
Mhm.
so the cage
Well, maybe we'll see
lose
more
these mentions.
voices of
Yeah,
the celebrity world becoming active, more active. I know there's a
yeah,
lot of them,
this access.
there's quite a few, but maybe more in that sort of sense as well, kind of becoming more prominent.
Yeah.
I mean, it speaks to, finding a leader that people love.
Yeah, and
What's
Again,
that
I think
like?
it's about belief, isn't it, as well? I mean, Jupiter's always
yeah,
about a belief
religion.
system,
Believing in something
and
better.
self-belief, if having that confidence in yourself. But I mean, these are fixed signs, of course, and if you're thinking like in terms of mundane, I mean, these could be radically opposite fixed beliefs in one sense, and you have to think Pluto is opposite Jupiter, and Pluto is on the IC
Yes,
example of the
yes.
horoscope of Israel at the moment, so it's quite important in that region. But I think it's I think it was Barbeau, one of the great mundane astrologers. He said that Pluto Jupiter, he linked it to growth, of course. You can imagine Jupiter's always going to expand things, but he also linked it to plutocracy and international terrorism. So there's some interesting threads there to follow through, right, into the rest of the year, because you can see the opposition is bridged by the Mars-Uranus conjunction, which is very, sort of almost like drones or technological stuff. So it's just going to be interesting to see how that plays out now, what manifests in
Mm.
that period that Jupiter, this particular period, and probably, the week after, while it moves into the opposition with Pluto, which I think is only one time. I think it moves quite quickly on in Leo, but that could
Yes,
be an
yes,
interesting
yes.
period. Just keep an eye on, the late
Yeah.
June, early July.
Well, if we remember the last Jupiter Pluto conjunction was in 2000. Was it? No, sorry. One
It
of
was
them was
the,
2020.
2007, just before the great, GFC, the housing crisis crash, right? So
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
the
it was also
conjunction.
COVID as well, was Jupiter Pluto.
Yeah, right. Yes. So that was the last one,
Capricorn.
and the one
Yeah,
before
yeah.
was that. So, now that it's the opposition,
Mm.
it's kind of a different battle going on. Maybe
Battle,
not.
I think, is the right word there. Yeah.
Yeah. I've always loved the thought of, Pluto's the underworld god, and, well, Jupiter and Uranus are the sky gods. So it's the higher
Yeah.
god and the low,
Yeah.
the extremes of those as well. But let's keep going. So the Mars-Uranus conjunction we kind of talked about, that's coming up very closely. And the last time, well, their last waning square was at exactly the eclipse. Oh, sorry, exactly on Feb 27th, when the, Iranian leader
Yeah.
was killed.
Yeah.
So the repercussions of what, is going on there. So the Mars coming up to there is really the trigger of that great sextile that's, that's coming up, isn't it? And so, again, now we're seeing, this sextile, sometimes called angel wings, Barbeau's basket,
Yeah.
as has been sort of said. And, I love the Sabian symbol of Neptune, who's kind of, at the beginning of the zodiac there, a triangle with wings, right? So, what are our thoughts on this big,
It is very interesting, especially you really see that wing is there, if you really see that, between the Pluto and Neptune, and then Neptune trine the
Uranus?
Jupiter
Yeah,
and the
yeah.
Uranus, all that trine really form a beautiful angel wing. So when you put there, I just couldn't believe my eyes. I never used the so-called Sabian symbol, but I find it fascinating about them. But
Yes.
It is.
about
Yeah, agreed.
the bubbles, about the bubbles, the basket. To be honest, he didn't really talking about basket, but because he
No,
was
someone
talking
else
about.
there's
I know,
the words
but
floating
it's
around
nice.
here.
It's nice. It sounds very cute. Like I think the Louisa, I think got to call it cradle. Even cuter. It's a cradle, for the holding for the
Yeah, yeah.
baby,
Oh,
because it
cradle,
called
a cradle.
Yeah.
cradle.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
like so it's like a start renaissance starts of a civilization. It's very beautiful, because of what Andre Babo talking about was that all this, the trine and the sextile between the outer planet. But this is very interesting, because the Jupiter just fit in and created this like a basket. It looked quite, I would say it activated, it make it manifest and much easier or more obviously to look at. So during the for upcoming in July, around this time, we may really notice what Bubble says. But we get one chance. We have one chance, as I posted yesterday. Remember this 3 day from yesterday or 2 days ago, Venus is at this position. Venus is at 4° Leo. We have a tiny period of this same basket activated by Venus.
Mm.
And so we have that's what I asked. What happened now? We have to look for the G7. What's the conclusion of G7? Or the peace deal between US the 1,000 times? Maybe that will give us a bigger peace deal in the July. I don't know, But
There may
if
be
we
an attempt.
if we read the news for these couple of days, maybe we will get a hint about what does that great sextile or the basket when Jupiter kick in, and we will have more idea about it.
Yeah.
I
Mercury's
think, right.
retrograde.
But like
Mercury's
Barbeau,
retrograde.
when Barbeau was talking about this great rebirth that he envisioned, my opinion anyway, is that he could not have imagined the AI revolution that we find ourselves in. I don't think that was even on the horizon then. And of course, Uranus, Pluto, because it's really slow moving cycle, really pretty slow moving. it's radical restructuring, isn't it, of nations. That's what Epictetus says. So it's this building up of things. So I think this is much more about the general sort of time we're in, which is obviously we are in an AI revolution. It's taken over, and there will be areas where I think, can be used really in a way that will be beneficial to us if it's used well. But I think it's that kind of thing. I think it's a really general, wider civilization, our planet sort of energy. Is very
It's like it's
opportunistic.
connecting all of us more than ever, I think,
Yeah,
because of
yeah.
it's like, and I think the seriousness of Jupiter opposite Pluto, it's like, can we do this, or are we gonna fly, or are we gonna freaking crash?
Yeah.
It's structuring it, because the
Yeah,
opposition kind of earths it in a way as well, doesn't it? Kind of grounds it, in something.
yeah,
I think this, you think that. Let's have a dialogue, which is the rest, Let's
yeah,
talk about how we're going to use it, how we,
yeah. Which is, yeah, that's right. Like there's a dialogue with the opposition. Yes,
because
yes.
obviously this ties into the Uranus-Pluto conjunction of the 60s. And when they were sextile, which was in 94, 5, 6, I mean, that is where, you got the first Internet Explorer, you got Alta Vista, you got, so it's called, I think I found an article, it was the year that changed the world, because all of these Amazon, all of this stuff started to happen under the sextile. And of course, the trine is an even bigger, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
even more
Version, yeah,
expensive.
yeah.
So the speed at which things are moving, and actually as well, sometimes things are being simplified. So things that I've looked at, for example, online, things that were I thought, oh, I'll leave that. It's a bit of a, 6 months later, it's suddenly become easy. Do you know what I mean? It's moved in that time already, that it's like, whoa, that's
It's a
easy.
quickening for sure, isn't it? It's a
Yeah,
quickening so much, like, wow, so much to deal with that,
yeah,
I
it's
think that's
fast.
really like, I've got this going on over there and this and that, and
Yeah. Yeah. Keep all those balls in the air, Jules. Keep juggling. It's amazing.
Just like, because there's so many cycles coming, like in their different sort of, sextiles, trines, or whatever. I've just put the dates of what, where the seeding is of these, this kind of couples of planets have been.
Amazing, yeah.
And then all the years that, let's say, the particular conjunctions happen, because when we're talking about planetary pairs or their present phases, let's say, with each other, or aspects to each other, they come from these years. So, Jupiter, Pluto, as I was saying, 2007, 2020, 94. Was that the internet revolution, 94?
I think it was kicking off then. I think it was 94, 95, 96 was that 1 year
more
where,
96,
I mean,
yes.
the amount of
Anyway,
stuff.
and then Jupiter, Uranus, we can look at back at all those years as well and then right down to Neptune and Pluto. And what's interesting about Neptune, Pluto is that Uranus is heading to their last conjunction degree, which is 8 degrees, Gemini, 6 and 8.
Yeah.
Which is very interesting, but I'm just kind of currying it up because I know we've been going long. But again, there's always more to extrapolate. But I just wanted to point out, like, again, for our own charts or whatever, like, everything at around 4 degrees
Yes.
is activated. Don't wait for an aspect. Like,
just fall over 4 degrees,
yeah, 4 degrees, you got something there, it's happening. My Venus is there, so whoa. It's at 4 degrees Taurus, but so think about it. And as I pointed out, the Venus star point will be at 0 Scorpio. So this is, as much as it's coming together, exactly in July, let's say, and I've just kind of treated it with the Pluto Jupiter opposition, but it's active still into next year. This whole, into 27, and then other planets will activate where Jupiter is, so, we've got more to come there, haven't we? And And it's really interesting also that at the 0 point, 0 Virgo is the next Mars retrograde, which is where the node is. So, whatever's happening now, it's still activated, by other significant points, coming up, isn't there? So,
Yeah.
there's a lot of squares happening at this same time too that may be invisible. So the 8th harmonic squares, Venus, Mercury retrograde, Venus, Sun, Mercury, the nodes, Mars and Chiron, and the nodes and Neptune. So they're kind of like invisible again, hidden, but 45-degree squares, the 8th harmonic, are also playing out in this, what everyone's saying is this magic time. And we know that, 0 or 29 Leo is, of course, Donald Trump's ascendant, and the node going over 0 Virgo is the star Regulus. So when we think about leaders and leadership and, this kind of stuff, Jupiter in Leo, there's a lot of things pointing to, and then the Mars retrograde being on that point in January next year, there's a really, I think, big shift in those up the top. That's my thinking on that. Anything you want to say about that before we kind of finish up?
No, I think
Oh, it's all good.
Yeah.
But one thing I think is really interesting, and on a lighter note, maybe nicer to finish on as well, is that the Odyssey, is it a series or a movie? It's a movie.
it's a movie. Yeah.
Movie.
I hadn't heard of it until you posted this. I just
Right. Well, I've seen the show, advertising it here and there to me. But I love the Jupiter Leo trine and Neptune Aries for this amazing, journey, which is
Agreed.
so Jupiter in
Epic.
Leo and Neptune in Aries,
Agree.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
epic, really. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. The news.
Fantastic. I can hardly wait.
Yeah.
I want
The
it to be
news
a
was
series,
yeah.
though. It can't be just
Yeah.
a 2-hour movie like this.
Yeah, could be, that could be. If they sell very well, they're probably going to turn it into the series. But the news was indeed coming out when Neptune moved into Aries. The news was starting, they starting announce this, and they done it so quickly. But I really like the way you interpreted the chart of a release, because when in the beginning, I just thinking about this is definitely a description of a Neptune in Aries, a wandering adventure
Yes, going on in
the
a big
ocean.
adventure.
It's huge.
Yeah.
But now when they release, Jupiter is in Leo. Wow. Oh my God.
Yeah.
The heroic, epic journey. This is beautiful to
And
produce.
Neptune plays a really big role in the Odyssey.
Definitely.
Well, because of,
yes.
he's
Yeah.
getting lost and he's having illusions and he's
Poseidon,
lost
Yeah.
his
Yeah.
Yes.
so
You are
good.
not allowed to get on board.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I mean,
so-
Saturn is in Aries, and apparently he was a pretty lousy leader, wasn't he, though? I think he's the only one of his crew who made it back.
Right, yes, right. Well, there was a lot of
I
things
like the way you say
fighting the monsters. I mean, the everything. Anyway, wait for that. I'm looking
Really
forward
nice
to
to
that.
hear about that one, Jules.
Yeah.
Thor's hammer. There's this incredible yod kite. All out of this, I noticed when I was kind of researching. It's like, oh my God, look at this. Although it's actually at the full moon. It's at a full moon, and this is then before the eclipses that begin. So this is, it's an 8th harmonic yod dynamic. So a lot of things are working really hard together. Do you know what I mean? So I kind of looking at this as this is a really powerful time, and I'm thinking that something really sort of significant will be happening around then. Not sure, but keep an eye out for that. What do you?
Saturn is stationing there.
Oh yes, Saturn and Neptune are stationing. Oh, Neptune also just recently stationed. So and Saturn stationing, yes.
Yeah.
So it's pretty full on. But use your hammer for good, as I said in another talk. So I just keep, and this is what Andre Barbeau said about this. Well, it's mainly about the Neptune Saturn conjunction and the sextile, right? So not so much about the Jupiter, wasn't it? It was more about the exact Neptune-Saturn conjunction, but a splendid relaunch of civilization. What do you
Yeah.
think about that? I mean, with the angel wings and where we're heading.
As I say, I think he had a vision, but he didn't
Yeah,
know
Mm,
precisely how it would manifest. And I think,
mm,
the AI is the revolution that he could have that he had an intuition about it, I think, very strong, but
yeah,
didn't know how to specifically frame
yeah,
it. But I
yeah,
think
yeah,
I think we're in it. I think this is what he was envisaging.
mm,
Um, that's what I think, I think he was right, but he just didn't have a means to put it in. It's a bit like who's the other famous from the from history who did all the talk. Oh God, I can't remember his name now. Forget it, forget it.
yeah,
My
yeah.
he's drawn a
But I
blank.
mean, it's a
But
it's a
yeah,
good thing to think about because whatever we're in, and as difficult as it is, and in a sense we've been talking about it for a long time, with all these outer planets moving signs and all that kind of stuff, that this is a huge transformation. How
yeah,
long that takes is
yeah,
is not going to happen in July, So
yeah.
yeah.
Nostradamus is who I was thinking of. The way
Oh,
Nostradamus, when he talks about a lot of his things, when we look back on it, we think, oh, yeah, that was planes. He was talking about aeroplanes there. You
yeah,
could see
right, right,
it
right.
in the
Yeah,
language,
yeah,
but,
yeah.
you don't, it's very difficult. That's the realm of science fiction in a way, almost, isn't it? If you look at how a lot of science
Yeah,
fiction writers
absolutely.
get
Yeah,
it right,
yeah,
but it's
yeah,
very difficult
yeah,
to really give a shape to things to come. It's not an easy
yeah,
task, really. But
yeah.
I'm sure he was kind of intuiting the period that we're in now in the speed of development of things, because I do think AI can really take a lot of the workload off things, in terms of statistics or the best way to do that, or, in the right hands, it's a
We're
phenomenal
not used to
tool.
it yet or managing it. It's all very confusing.
Fresh. Yeah,
Uranus square the nodes, all that stuff.
yeah,
But,
yeah,
it is going to long term,
yeah,
it's here to stay and it's about how we manage how
yeah.
that is going to kind of
Yeah, exactly.
infiltrate.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So
yeah,
we're at the very
yeah,
beginning of it. Pluto's only
yeah,
just in Aquarius. So, it might take decades for this to kind of land, if you know what I mean, properly, in
yeah,
our world, in our lives. But
yeah. And then we've got the eclipses, 20 Leo, as I was saying, and then a lunar one at for Pisces with the nodal shift happening in between that. That's another conversation. So we're going to
Yeah,
actually put it up though, and again, follow Rod's UK talks because you guys are doing it more often than the CIA. Talk about eclipses. This is the lunar one where we'll be seen, but it's interesting. It's going to be, over Europe and the top of the
and
Americas
Spain, maybe.
there.
and it'll be around, is it not close to the time of these? I think the World Cup might be still going on. I was just thinking it's visible over
I
Spain.
think it's finished because this is
Spain,
Ah,
yeah.
August
okay.
now. Yeah, this
All
is
right.
August.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah. The World Cup's another big story. Now I'm going to
Yeah,
leave this out because this is too much. But let's
yeah,
get into
Oh my
Kenan.
God.
You guys have got this amazing event coming up. Rod's
Oh,
just left, but
yeah.
so sorry that he's left. But tell us a little bit about this.
Yeah, as you know, we actually started our international organization in 2024, and the reason for this was Julia Simas, guys.
I'm
Have
an
to admit
inspirer.
that. I always tell everyone this. Julia said to me, I'm coming from Australia to Europe, and Istanbul is very close to me, Kenan, and I would like to come. What can we do? So, and
rest is
thanks
history.
to her. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Many thanks to her. Yeah, many doors opened for us. So I'd like to thank Julia once again here.
Oh,
And we will be a small group, guys. Okay, we will be a small group, approximately, one coach load of people. Okay, so it's not a very large organization, but in a way, we are
well,
we
when
are
you when you're
rebuilding.
journeying, you don't want lots of people. It's too hard to manage. But yeah, if you're
Absolutely,
moving around, yeah.
absolutely. And also, Göbekli is known as the 0 point of history. I think many of you already know this because it's much older than Stonehenge,
Yeah,
much
yeah,
older
yeah.
other place. It goes back to around 9,000 or BCE, or even close to 11,000 BCE, and incredible discoveries have been made there. So we will visit these
Yeah,
places,
fantastic.
and all the CIA agents, maybe I can say, all the CIA agents will be with us. Dear Liz Hathway is coming. Rod also will come with his
You're right.
telescope, and he
Yeah,
will guide
great.
us in sky observation there. And Tanya, dear Tanya, is also coming. She will speak to us about the Haran towers and Mesopotamian astrology. And
Fantastic.
in addition, Haran University, a professor from the university, will also be with us. Is also connected
Wow.
with
Wow, wow.
guide
So
us.
everyone, check it out on Kenan's website,
Um,
kenanyasin.com conference
Thank
if you
you,
want to
thank you.
go.
Would you
I
like to say something about Liz, your
Yeah,
topic?
I just think it's that sense of place, isn't it? I mean, this is where, this is where the roots of our art lie. And, to be under those skies, it'll be obviously very dark there, so you'll get a good view of the sky. And it's just like sort of a kind of phenomenological experience, of walking in that place. I have no idea how it will feel to be there, what kind of energy. And obviously the landscape has changed. And because I've been doing a bit of a dig into it, it was a much more greener, fertile place then than it is now. But it's so fascinating. I mean, it's so fascinating that a site, that took so long to like Gobeletseki. I don't know if I say that right. But I mean,
Maybe we can say belly hill.
uh,
Göbek means belly, and hill means tepe. Tepe means hill.
But
Belly hill.
it's a fascinating, story that they built this incredible place, as you say, thousands of years before Stonehenge, and then they buried it. They physically buried it. They took as much time or more to
yeah,
bury
to
it. I
hide
mean,
it or something, yeah, or protect it, yeah.
it was called a hill, isn't it? It was that went down in the sort of folk memory of as a hill because that's how high the mound was that they built on this site, and it's an interesting sort of yeah, just to use your imagination, and obviously in talk we'll be
Um,
also looking at
yes,
academic
yes.
sources and things as well, but
We
it's as
really
much an
lucky.
imaginative journey as anything else, I think.
Well,
We
these
are really
journeys that are
lucky to
in the
have
real
you.
place and archaeological, I mean, yeah, so my favorite thing and being outside, out of conference
Yeah,
rooms is just
yeah, yeah,
fine way
yeah.
to do
I put
astrology.
my heart, Julia. I put my heart. As these kind of organizations, sometimes people invite very famous names, not astrologer, but just famous because they will create attention or publicity. But and sometimes when that happens, the knowledge itself can fall into the background, and I'm not saying that to offend anyone, but of course, astrology has popular figures, more people
I just
with
like seeing
large.
different things happening,
Yeah,
not the same thing
yeah,
happening.
Yeah,
This is what happens. It becomes too generic. Everyone's doing the same thing. Oh my God, let's
yes,
kind of
yeah.
go
yeah,
I
somewhere
just
else
asked
or,
myself.
yeah.
Yeah, I just asked myself. So if I go to Göbekli Tepe, what would I want to listen to there? Okay, and from whom would I want to hear it? And so, dear Liz, Rose, with Telescope, and Tanya, and
yeah,
Fantastic.
thank you so much, Julia.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
yeah,
great.
everyone, don't miss out. Book in. You got to go. Now, hang on, let me. So I've also organized
Beautiful
with some
organization.
of the
Yeah.
agents in Mexico and Ariel Gutman, Ursula, Yuria, and Ali. we've put together this Mexican trip, and we've only got 2 places left. We're happy to say that. So we're so excited, and there's a few names on the list that are thinking about it. So really, if you've been thinking about it, don't delay. It's happening. It's going to be great. It's a whole week in this amazing landscape and archaeology and astrology and Venus. So do join us for that. If you're interested in learning about geodetic mapping, which I've kind of spent a lot of my passions on in the past, well, a few years probably, I sort of hooked into it and couldn't stop. And now I've kind of put
He's
together.
an expert, guys. He's an expert.
Where's the
You know.
book?
Don't
Where's
miss
the book?
it, please.
Where's
Well,
the
the
book,
book's
Jules?
next. I find doing these things are kind of maybe the precursor or even easier. I'm just used to doing it this way, but visually, showing people, things easier than a book, to be honest.
But this is where AI can help you. There'll be a point, I'm sure, where you can talk it in, and
Right.
the
Oh,
machine will
yes.
type it out
Yeah,
for you. And
yeah.
then
Well,
the
actually,
job,
I know I've got stuff that I should have done with the Venus work, and again, time.
You
But
need some Virgo energy, and I can
I
handle
do.
it,
Yeah.
I
okay?
have.
yeah.
I've got
So,
Pluto and Uranus in Virgo.
yeah, something concrete, because this is great, but I think a book with your name on it, on this
Yeah,
subject.
no, true, because it's
Yeah.
not been done. And Chris's book, which is kind of the last one that we have,
Yeah.
It's
a long time ago,
there's
isn't
been a
it?
few more things that have developed or, have thought
Yeah.
about since then for sure. So anyway, that is coming up next week.
An hour a day, Jules, and you'll have it done within
Right,
us.
right.
Just 1 hour
okay.
a day, 1 hour
Thanks
a
for the
day.
encouragement. Yes, right. And because it's a solstice, we have the membership 20% off. We like to always, encourage people to join the CIA because you get discounts to events. The last, topic we had last weekend was Sol Jonasson talking about Chiron and Taurus. It was fantastic. It was over 2 hours. So that's in our kind of archives, access to recordings. We've got 150 of them with Liz in there, Kenan, more to come, collecting lots of great topics and teachings. So if you're wanting to learn more astrology, this is the place. You learn it from the professionals or the ones that care. So anyway, we all love astrology and love passing on the wisdom, let's say. So anyway, all the links to all of these things we've talked about will be in the comment, underneath the video. So thank you for listening today, and I hope you enjoyed the
Always.
conversation. And of course, thanks to Liz, Kenan, and Rod. Bye, Rod. But any closing words from you two?
Enjoy the
Thank
summer.
you.
Enjoy the winter. The sun's coming back. So yeah, happy days to everyone. It's certainly interesting times, coming up. Jupiter in Leo. It's exciting. It's also, sometimes forget what we have to listen to. I think is the way to sort of cope through a lot of these things. It makes us too anxious, doesn't it? Get back to
Yeah.
the
We're in there
Cancer.
for the ride, isn't it? And we have to just hold on to our hat. It's that kind of energy, right? Like a giant roller coaster. Don't wear
Yeah.
glasses.
That's right. Look after each other, look after
Thank you
yourselves,
so
and
much.
we will all talk soon. Thanks again, guys. Thanks, agents.
Thank you, everybody.
See you soon. All right.